The iRacing special events lands at the sprint car capital of the world, and today we'll try to send them 3 and 4 wide for the Knoxville Nationals here on the iRacing calendar. Hello everyone, welcome to RaceSpot TV and welcome to the iRacing Esports Network. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, joined alongside by Dane Baird as we get set to go racing. Dane, the last time we were out in action, we were in the Ardennes for something very different, but the second half of the special event sees us really dive into the diversity that iRacing has to offer.
Yeah, I don't think it gets much more different than what we're doing now versus the Spa 24 hours, a 24-hour race versus some 10-lap heats and some others as well. I mean, yeah, Knoxville, it is so different. It's dirty. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be incredible, I think, to make our way through what is the alphabet soup, through plenty of racing here today. 60 drivers enter. The previous 5 days have all built up through plenty of Knoxville Nationals through the splits. We've taken the 60 best drivers who have registered in points and picked them to enter today's super session. There's just 8 degrees of banking here at the Knoxville Raceway, and we'll have no track resets once we go racing. The real-life race has been run since 1961, but we've only been racing the last couple of years. 2 different winners, and it's looking like we'll have a 3rd different winner potentially on our hands. Here's a look, though, at the format. A alphabet soup, as mentioned, it all starts in qualifying, which is just about to get underway. The drivers get the track to themselves, and then the field split into the 6 10-lap heats. The top 3 in each of those advance to the feature before we make our way in towards the first of the alphabet soups. Top 4 from there work their way on through. We saw drivers able to do that in the real world, but Dane, it's very difficult here on the sim.
Yeah, the gaps between all of our drivers, they've been working all week to get to this event in the first place, and the gaps between them, they are going to be very small, and it is not a lot of time to make your way through either 10 laps in the E-main, and then it goes up by 2 for each consecutive main event, up until our feature, which is 35, of course, a little bit longer there. Maybe we'll see the caution come out as well. But yeah, those shorter E-main races, D-main, etc., they are going to be very hectic, and to make your way through even a couple of those is going to be very tough.
You say maybe we'll see a caution. I say expect to see the cautions. Plenty of those throughout the course, and incidents, of course, as well over the course of the night. Qualifying just getting underway right now, 3 minutes, and the drivers sure to blast around the Knoxville Raceway pretty quickly to get themselves all set for that qualifying session. Can see the sprint cars working their way around. I've had the opportunity this past month of May, Dane, to see the 410 non-wing machines rip around, and I've got to say the feeling of dirt being chucked up into the air is something to experience for everybody.
Yeah, they don't really do that too much from where I'm from. I have to join you over stateside and see if I can get into some of that myself, but yeah, they are incredible. Just watching them rip around the dirt, and yeah, they do quite a spectacle.
And so we're going to see the evolution of the track and therefore evolution of the setup. Everyone has an open setup with which to build. And so qualifying gets its first minute complete, and already the lap time's thrown on in. But no one really out there just yet in terms of the top drivers that we'd expect. There's Tim Ryan just about to roll off of pit lane. Aiden Beerline, the number 2 machine in the session, which is numbering determined by iRating, means that with 7,734, second highest iRating, it's on the 2nd lap where he's expecting to punch in something quick. First lap sees him only down in 38th.
Yeah, be hoping to improve on the 2nd lap as coming through they go, and it is good enough for 2nd, not quite good enough to top Powell at the top.
And it's going to see potentially opportunities for others to slide their way on forward. We have 47 drivers currently with times on the board. Here's Ryan Vella in the 49 machine. He will find himself 700ths of an improvement, only finds himself 2 spots out on track. Here's Tim Ryan, former iRacing World Championship winner, and the Australian making a special appearance for us here on the dirt.
Coming through now, keeping it relatively straight there up towards the Lionel Go. currently 50th, slows down, and that is good enough for pole position so far with 30 seconds left by a very small margin.
It is by just 23 thousandths of a second. Not many drivers still have opportunities to improve. There's Jeff Drake in the number 7. He'll be up into 28th, and of course with the snake split start, every position you get in qualifying is also a better starting spot potentially in your representative heat. I think that's going to be times done and dusted. Look at the margin between the top 2 and then those behind, Dane.
Yeah, a little bit of separation there, about a 10.5 back from Matthew Powell and Aidan Berline. But yeah, Tim right up at the top, smallest of margins between first and second place, and I feel like we'll be seeing small margins throughout the rest of this day as well.
Of course, it will start with the 6 10-lap heats before we'll make our way into the alphabet soup. The first batch of drivers getting ready to rumble. Let's run you down through the starting grid for heat number 1, where Tim Ryan was fastest in qualifying. He'll lead us to the green alongside Kenny Hoffman in the number 11. Connor Darnell and then Bradley Cox 3rd and 4th, with Dylan Shreves and then Jared Pettit 5th and 6th positions. 10 cars, of course, in each heat. Andrew Clark, Logan Mann on the 4th row with Ryan Vella and then Logan Hartman through the top 10 as they get ready to go here for the first of the heat races. The track has, as mentioned, been reset just before we went racing in the qualifying session, and from here it's only going to get slicker, and that's where the dirt evolution comes into play, and those that can make the most of the evolving conditions will be able to succeed. Of course, dirt relatively recent in the history of iRacing. It's coming up to the 15th anniversary of the iRacing servers going live. Do not forget to head to iRacing.com, where new memberships are 40% off. And if you're around on the 26th of August, the 15th anniversary of the servers going live, some anniversary credits may end up in your account. Expectations then, Dane, as we get ready to go for the first time tonight.
Oh, let's see, a lot of speed, probably some wrecks, and hopefully we can keep it clean in these heat races at least and get those top 3s through to the feature. But yeah, as we get into the alphabet soup, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of chaos, I think is the best word. And
just a reminder as well, we're going to be fighting for the top 3 in each of these races. First, second, and third does give you better starting spot come that feature, but ultimately it's just about giving yourself the best opportunity possible. Only 4 advance out of the alphabet soup. We can get 2 laps behind the pace truck, so Tim Ryan continues to wait before he picks up the throttle. I'm going to ask Dane, any predictions as to who's going to come out on top?
Well, it's got to be the pole sitter, hasn't it? There was a bit of a big gap in qualifying to those drivers further behind, especially since we're looking at sort of 7th place and back. So I think you've got to go before the driver on the inside, but we'll see. Anything is possible, especially with these starts. They can get very hectic very quickly.
Pace truck's going to pull off and away. We'll go racing in this super session. The top 60 in points who registered for this one get ready to rumble, and the pole sitter Tim Ryan also brings the highest I rating in the field. It's an early punch of the throttle. We're racing for the 2023 iRacing Knoxville Nationals. A big jump up towards the front, and it's the battle for that 3rd position and that final transfer spot. Connor Darnell sits in that catbird seat, but with Dylan Shreves and Andrew Clark behind at the end of the opening lap.
They're 3 wide further back. That's not really what they want to be doing. They want to be getting themselves up towards that 3rd spot. 4th, 5th, and 6th all side by side a few corners ago, but they get themselves in the single file, and we'll see what they can work from there.
Inside of the top 3, no changes, but Bradley Cox down 2, Andrew Clark +2. You can see the 29 of Shreves now starting to look like the pressure's starting to build. A bit of contact as they all work on that inner line, and it's going to build 3 wide almost once again.
10 backing out for a second there, but Dylan Shreves getting hung out to dry on the outside. Andrew Clark up into 4th.
But still not really costing each other too much time. Connor Darnell still very much in the window. The 10 almost up against the berm, but now side by side down the back straightaway. Bradley Cox is up to 4th.
Up to 4th indeed. Still the 8 hot on his tail, and they got to start trying to catch up because we're already on lap 6. It'll be lap 7 very quickly. There's only a couple of laps left to try and get up into that top 3.
Yeah, these races fly on by, especially with the lap times being down in that 14-second bracket. We have had no incidents to start this one off, though, and we're not seeing a fight for that third and final transfer spot. Instead, it's drivers fighting effectively for grid positions in the alphabet soup.
Yep, and obviously the higher up you finish in your heat race, the higher up the alphabet soup you're going to end up. So that's what they're aiming for here, is to try and get up into that fourth spot. If they can't make it to third, fourth is obviously the next best option.
There's a couple of laps now to run. We ride on board with Andrew Clark as he looks inside of Bradley Clark's attempted slide job, but with the track not necessarily evolved just yet. It's as we come to the white flag that Tim Ryan still leads.
With a 1 second gap behind as well. He'll be very pleased with that performance. That's going to grab him pole position for that feature race. Perfect start of the day for Tim Ryan here.
He'll be watching on now for a while. Kenny Hoffman closed after a mistake on that final lap from Tim Ryan, but it's the pole man that wins, brings Hoffman and Darnell with him in towards the opening heat. Through to the feature. Big drama, I think, behind for Cox and Clark, just costing each other just that little bit too much time, and already frenetic sprint car racing. They're ready to go for the second of the heats. Let's grab a look at the results. Tim Ryan a quarter of a second clear of Kenny Hoffman. Connor Dunnell moving forward as well, but the rest have to now fight their way through one of just a handful of the alphabet soups. Let's run you down through how they'll line up, though, for the second of the heat races tonight. Matthew Power was just within 300ths of the pole. He'll line up on the front row alongside with Blake Giglio, and then Mike Snyder and Lachlan Rogers are on the second row. Zach Hoddle and then Andrew Stables are on the third row of the grid, while Dustin Sargent, Tyler Schoen, and then Terrell Wheeler and then David Lance make up the rest of the second heat of the night. They're already rolling off and away. That is the nature of fast, frenetic sprint car racing. What have we learned from the opening heat, though, of the night, Dane?
Well, it looked like passing was definitely very simple to do. We saw that with the battle for 5th and 6th, but some of the cars maybe not getting close enough to make that happen, and obviously mistakes very easy in this format of racing, so don't keep your eye off of the drivers slightly behind, because they can close up real quick.
Of course, qualifying relatively important for a race like this, because if you start towards the back of the heat, you've got plenty of work to do. Also note the sun's continuing to set, Dane, which means we talk about the dirt conditions evolving. It will also change as the amount of sun it receives continues to shift.
And that's something that like asphalt drivers across the service will understand as well. Something that we all understand is the sun position, very important when you're racing, the temperature of the surface that you're driving on, but the dirt guys have to worry about maybe just a couple more factors as well. But we see the pace truck is going to head down onto pit road, and we'll get this second heat underway.
Let's not forget how much these drivers have been having to adapt themselves, especially given the significant changes to the dirt in the recent couple of months. Matthew Powell has seen Tim Ryan's domination of heat number 1, and he'll lead the field across the line to start off the second heat of the day. Behind him, Giglio and Snyder once again settle into the rhythm inside of the transfer positions. It's too wide though behind, where Rogers up the inside of Hoddle as they battle for 4th.
Once again, side by side, a little bit further back. Similar story to heat number 1 as the 31 gets all sorts of loose and heads up the racetrack.
You can definitely see, though, they are preferring the lower line. There's contact behind. Around goes Tyler Schoen, and the yellow flag out for the first time tonight. Do note, though, these caution laps will count, unlike what they will do come the feature.
Yep, so drivers now have significantly less time to make those moves. The pace truck out on to the course. And a bunch to field back up again. It's going to make for an interesting restart here. Maybe drivers can grab some positions that maybe they lost a bit earlier.
And so let's grab a look then at the replay here. It just all checks up behind, and you can see nowhere really to go, and that's a big one. I think Terrell Wheeler's the one that ends up down in the pit lane. Andrew Stables potentially as well having some issues, but Matthew Powell... Oh, in fact, did the caution lap not end up counting? Or I was under the impression they should.
Well, this throws a whole new story into the proceedings here. And yeah, it's going to be 7 laps or 6 laps remaining. Yeah,
we're going to be here for a while longer, I guess. Light still on the pace car. A pace truck. I got to make sure that I don't make that mistake. I've been doing that a bunch in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, Dane, but I guess a car is a truck. Is a truck always a car?
Oh, that's a question that I don't think I'm qualified to answer as a
Oh, okay.
Brit.
Only Americans are qualified to answer that one. Is that
Yeah,
what
we
you're
don't
saying?
really do trucks. That's the thing. So.
No, you do not. That is a fair point. Still waiting for things
Lights
to
off.
Oh, there we go. I was just about to say waiting for things to get cleared off till we get the signal. So an early jump. Unlike on the start when we were too wide, this time we'll be single file when we see the green once more.
Maybe making it a little bit trickier for them to be grabbing those positions right off the start, but they are bunching up real tight there as they make their way through the last couple corners here.
So it's going to be the pace truck that pulls away as we head on towards that back straightaway. Track is starting to slick up though here, Dane. Here we go. Racing once again, and Mike Snyder's going to maybe get caught behind. Zach Coddle's going to try and throw it up the inside as we run down the back straightaway. But another tidy start after the first caution of the night.
Yep, keeping it clean this time and mostly single file, maybe a little bit too wide further back. That is looking like it's the 3rd and 4th position. Snyder under threat here. Hoddle looking up the inside, doesn't quite get there.
Almost halfway through this one, and with still a couple of cars holding on. The top 2 starting to stretch their legs. Outside now for the 15 and cutting back underneath, using that downforce and getting the run and getting the transfer spot.
Is 25 going to come back now up the inside? They'll be side by side off the exit, crossing the line into 1 and 2 once again. 25 on the inside, carrying some good speed. Almost contact made there.
They're really tripping over each other now. Snyder still continues to ride in 3rd. It's from the 15 that the challenge is coming from the time being, though. Couple of laps still to run and almost leaning on one another, on board with Lachlan Rogers.
And here comes Rogers indeed. He's going to look to the inside. A bit of contact made. They get all sorts of sideways, and he's going to, a bit of a wreck. Will we see the caution flag come out? Yes, we will.
It's Dustin Sargent, the other machine involved, and that was hard into the inside wall and straight down to the pit lane. Caution out for the 2nd time in heat number 2. And so after this one comes in and amidst the squabble to make the way in towards the feature race. Here's a look at what happened down below, and it's just a bit hayward on entry, and that cost them on exit.
Yeah, and I think all things considered, they're probably quite fortunate with how that ended up turning out. Didn't get some huge damage onto the cars as we saw in the earlier wreck, but lap 9 of 10. We'll get back going again, lap 10 of 10. Are we going to get a 1-lap shootout here?
It will be in effect, and so I think realistically, as long as Mike Snyder gets a decent jump on the start, there shouldn't be too much change here as we get ready to go for a restart. Lights are still on the pace truck, though. And this has definitely been a little bit more physical than that first heat was.
Yeah, they kept it really clean in the first heat. I was quite impressed, but the second heat, they're getting the elbows out, that's for sure. And yeah, a little bit of contact can cause quite a spectacular wreck in these things, and they're running around at the absolute limit, or slightly beyond the limit of traction. When they wreck big.
Yeah, fortunately we haven't seen too many big wrecks so far. It does look, though, with the leader having dominated so far through 2 heats, that we might be in for a similar sort of story to what we saw in the 62nd running of the Knoxville Nationals just this past weekend, where we might see a driver lead every single lap on their way to winning this one. Pace truck still has those, I was going to say lights on, but lights are off. I think we're getting ready to go once more.
Yep, single file once again for the restarts. We'll see how they get on with a 1-lap shootout. That 12 is going to get away any second now.
Yeah, for Matthew Powell, after leading the opening 9 laps, surely wants to make his life as easy as possible. Line up alongside Tim Ryan. Pressure put on from behind though, to the line with a 1-lap shootout. Giglio and Snyder will slide up the track and try and hold their momentum. Ultimately, they don't want to trip over one another. It is going to be Powell, Giglio, and Snyder that slide their way out of the final corner and wrap up spots in the main event and join 3 other drivers in watching on from the sidelines.
They do have quite a while to wait as well in these earlier heats. They've got all the rest of the heat races and then also the alphabet soup still before they end up back on track for the feature.
It's definitely something to consider, especially given that they will be relying on their sense of the track evolution once they get into the warm-up only moments before we go racing. Here's a look at those results after that final 1-lap shootout. 2 cautions in that second heat, but no change inside of the top 3. Plenty of drivers that we would still expect to fight their way potentially through the alphabet soup. Here's the lineup for heat number 3, where Aiden Beerline is going to be definitely one to watch in the field. Tanner Miller alongside on the opening row with Chad Bernier, who's picked on the iRacing Esports Network to be one to watch, rolling alongside Clayton Davies. Nikolai Polyakov and then Ashton Miller will share row 3, while rolling from 7th, Matthew Delok and then Michael Gibbers. It's Riley Moore, Daniel Moore on the final row of the grid. Riley Moore not taking to the starting grid, it would seem, but the rest of the cars are rolling off and away. A little bit more physical, that last one, Dane. You can definitely tell drivers feeling the urgency as we work through those 3 laps, rather 3 positions that work on forward.
Yep, very small margins for error here, and back to the 2x2 for the restarts. We'll see how they get on in heat number 3. Are we going to see more cautions come out? About to find out.
You see the sun continues to set. We mentioned the conditions. They're pretty cool. Those are the temperatures for Dane to be able to read. But if you want to be able to read them in America, 71 degrees in the track, not necessarily a number to pay an eye on. It's the winds and the air temperature to take a look at, Dane.
Yep, these numbers mean absolutely nothing to me. I'm not going to pretend. But yeah, 81, that's what I'm going to go for a wild guess here. Is that like 23?
We saw it just before. It was 27.
I didn't see it in time.
Wow, Dane not even paying attention. Away we're going to go, though, Aiden Beerline in what is a very colorful 410 winged machine in control of the field with Tanner Miller alongside. Heat number 3 underway. And Chad Bernier going to be under pressure from Clayton Davies for that 3rd transfer spot. Through the opening corner, up and under, and here comes the number 3 down the back straightaway.
Yep, up the inside. That's the quickest we've seen a move for 3rd place start, and already looking very nice indeed. They're side by side, a little bit further back for 5th position, but switch for the lead. Yeah,
fighting towards the front for the first time. Beerline regains the point, but with Tanner Miller putting on a bit of pressure. Ashton Miller's going to lose a bit of ground, almost slid up into the wall, but plenty of fighting as the track continues to evolve. Beerline rips the high line.
A little bit of a touch of the wall, cuts the nose off the 28, and now through final couple of corners they go to start lap number 4.
It's where the fighting is in the mid-pack. Polyakov gets shoved wide. It's going to be Delok and potentially Riley Moore that slide on through. Chad Bernier now has to get the wheels on because the margin up to the top 3 is starting to grow.
Yeah, it certainly is. We saw the battle happening right up at the start. Spread out ever so slightly. The 2 up the top still very close together, and now as we watch these 4th and 5th place drivers, they got to get a move on. Very few laps in this race.
Absolutely. Bernier now getting involved in a fight with Michael Giberson, and that gap just building and building between 3rd and 4th. Clayton Davies looking more and more comfortable. It's almost half a straight between 3rd and 4th positions.
Yeah, more similar to what we were seeing in heat number 1. It's now a battle between 4th and 5th to see who's going to get the better grid position in that alphabet soup. They're even battling further back behind as well. All of the positions do matter in these heat races.
We are starting to see, though, the evolution. Drivers have gone from the bottom to the top, and from here it's only going to get more and more slick. How you move that wing about could potentially give you a bit of drive as well. Giberson's tried to work on the back of Davies, but that margin has not come down as we trickle down into those final couple of laps.
It all happened so quickly. You look at the cars going side by side for a few corners, you look back up and suddenly 5 laps have passed as the white flag's been shown.
And it is Aiden Beerline who has been able to fend off Tanner Miller. Yes, they were going back and forth for the very first time today, but as the checkered flag flies from Barney, Heat 3 goes the way of Beerline. Tanner Miller, Clayton Davies going to advance as well. But Michael Giberson, Chad Bernier, and then the rest will be having to go through these last chance qualifiers that we know can be very, very physical. Grab a look at the results and the margins after a caution-free heat number 3. Delightful to be able to see that. You can see that the top 2 were 1 second clear of Davies, then 1.5 back to Giberson after the pass on Bernier. Giberson at least gets the best possible starting spot come what will be the final of the Alphabet Super Races. Heat number 4 ready through to go for the back half of our heat races. It's going to be Chase Stewart and then Chad Griggs on the front row with Cody Hillman, Ross Kaiser, Jeff Drake, and then Shunsuke Tashima through the front 3 rows. Dalton Shearer, Joshua Gass, Alan White, and then Ryan Avila complete your top 10 with one of our World Championship contenders in the sprint car having plenty of work to do. Once again stacked up behind that pace truck. Already 9 drivers have punched their way on forward, and now 3 more get ready to watch. I'm wondering what we're going to see from Avila in terms of being able to work on forward from the back.
Are they on the grid? I don't know if I saw them pop up just before the pace car, pace truck even made its way out.
You may be right. No Ryan Avila as we pull off and away.
So a 9-car heat then makes maybe slightly easier for the drivers to get into the top 3, statistically speaking. Realistically speaking, it doesn't.
Well, I guess it was always a driver that was going to be trying to work from the very back of the field. Chase Stewart, Chad Griggs have an even better chance. For those on the inside, they now have to watch out. We've seen the pole position driver in each heat be able to get a good jump, but as the track evolves and slicks on up, the outside going to get increasingly strong through turn number 1.
Yep, and that's something that drivers will be paying attention to all night long as we go through all these heats, and the track will continue to evolve and drivers will be making those adjustments.
And so we get ready to go. The pace truck going to get ready to pull off and away once again. This time the field going to be left in the hands of Chase Stewart's number 13. 10 more laps on the board, 3 more spots in the feature, and already some contact behind. Jeff Drake tried to get onto the throttle early and ran into the back of Cody Hillman. It means an opportunity for Ross Kaiser to move up to 3rd, and already a spot in the feature is swapped around on the opening lap.
Yep, they're getting all sorts of physical further back, but up in the front, single file for now. But here's where it starts to get interesting with the 14 pressuring that 9 into the second lap of this race. You've got to watch out for the 26 as well.
Big slide there from Tashima as he got the rear end stepping around, just trying to commit early into the corner, but with the track evolution, car not sticking underneath. It's going to be the 2 iRacing.com machines fighting for that spot in the transfer. Chase Stewart, Chad Griggs not contending at the front just yet, not halfway through heat number 4.
Did look quite difficult there. Tashima trying to get down to the bottom, and it didn't quite work out. But here we go. Here could be an opportunity. Getting a drive off the corner, but not working out just yet.
It's going to be 5 laps complete next time by, and there are, 6 car lengths between 2nd and 3rd spot. Griggs and Stewart look comfortable. Kaiser's going to have to feel that nerves from behind. Tashima's looking the most willing to go for it, though. Not sure you can get a 2-for-1 slide.
Yeah, not with how the track is looking at the moment. Definitely getting some good exit speed, but not being able to carry it all the way out of the corner.
Still, it's Ross Kaiser running almost a middle line right now. This is the first time that we've really seen that. It's definitely more defensive than anything else. Up towards the front, pressure being applied, and Chase Stewart sees the move from Chad Griggs, a swap around at the point.
Side by side once again. Is that going to give Hillman a little bit of hope that this move is going to be possible for that third position? They swap around back and forth once again up at the top.
It is going to be a fight for what is going to be the fourth starting spot. Who's going to be the most physical? Griggs closed the inside, but as the white flag gets ready to drop, is Griggs still in the lead?
And Hillman a little bit further back than he has been in 9. Oh, getting a little bit loose there. Does he get a good exit out of the corner? Oh, Griggs!
Griggs has run out of fuel, I think. Fuel may be a concern there. Chase Stewart will grab the win. Kaiser and Hillman were fighting for a spot in the feature, but it ends up with both of them making their way on through.
Griggs down to 9th. Tsushima wondering maybe if he made the move up into 4th position, could be in a transfer spot right now, but Hillman lucks his way into the top 3.
And so it means that we weren't thinking that fuel was going to be a concern, but apparently we might just have to add that onto our bingo cards. Race results for that 4th race. Ryan Avila confirmed as a DNS. Chad Griggs 1 lap down, everyone else within 10 seconds, but Chase Stewart, Ross Kaiser, and Cody Hillman, the 3 drivers working on forward, the rest to be seen again with 1 opportunity still to advance. Heat number 5, fast, furious sprint car racing ready to go once more, and it's Ethan Winter from Oceania that gets ready to rumble at the start. James Seawright will be on his right, while Coulter West, Josh Berkey, Colt Curry, and then Jarrett Neese through the front 6 on the grid. Jonathan Danley and then Byron Gay 7th, 8th with Chris Frost, and then Ethan Irons through the top 10 in what is going to be the penultimate heat of the night. Just 6 more guaranteed spots in the feature ready to be handed out, Dane.
Yeah, they're lined up side by side, getting ready to go racing once again. Another caution-free race last time. We'll see how these drivers make it through this 5th of 6 heat races before we get into the alphabet soup, which I cannot wait for. Top 3 once again moving to the feature. We'll see how they get on, and a full period of 10 cars this time.
Yeah, nice to see that. Of course, the top 3 advancing out of each of these heats. It will be the top 4 out of each main that advance into the next race, but it's only in the B main where there are 4 spots in the feature that are up for grabs. Pace truck once again that gets ready to dive off and away. We've only seen the caution fly in one of the features so far, that in our 2nd heat, where 2 caution periods were had. The 20 of Ethan Winter sees that pace truck off and away, and with a long hold of the field, packs them up, concertinas them all through, and gets us racing in the 5th heat of the night. Already some changes, and potentially just inside of the transfer spot. If Colt Curry can hold off Josh Berkey, he's got a chance to work on forward to 3rd.
Yeah, once again, almost looking up the inside of Seawright for that 2nd spot. That's some insurance policy right there to get yourself up into 2nd, not carrying the speed out of the corner. The position's going to swap back again. Seawright to the inside, but this swapping back and forth is going to allow Curry to make a move.
Big send attempted from Coulter West, and it will finally take the position as they funnel to the end of the 2nd lap. Ethan Winter breaks away, and now is James Seawright going to be vulnerable to the charge from Colt Curry behind. You can see side by side for 8th and 9th positions, but not inside of those looking for a transfer spot.
And they're definitely starting to run way up high through these corners now. The 22 opting for a bit of a lower line compared to most of the other drivers, and now under pressure from the 40.
The inside being where a lot of drivers are trying to exit, just maximize how early they can get on the throttle, but it's not paying dividends for them just yet. Big moment from behind, and the caution surely about to fly as Jonathan Danley and Jarrett Neese get tangled up with one another. Ethan Irons mixed up as well. The pace truck out, and with effectively 5 laps complete, the field is held in position.
And it will once again be a single file restart, so that's one less thing for the 20 to worry about. But they were battling hard for the second, third, fourth positions there. We'll see how that continues and how they progress. But yeah, the track definitely evolving. The drivers reacting to it. They're running way up high through these corners at the moment.
And that was one thing that was actually changed in response to some of the feedback from the drivers on the forums. Here's a look. The 34 actually of Danley just tags one of the other machines that was mixed up in that incident, and from there not much that they could really do, and they get stacked up and ready to go now single file once again. The fact that there is such a long wait between these heat races, then the alphabet soup, then the feature, does mean that I think there are going to be some of those drivers that are going to be watching the broadcast and trying to figure out who they're going to be racing against come the feature, that they can trust and who they've maybe got to watch out for.
Yeah, and also try and figure out exactly what the track is doing. I mean, the drivers that are coming out of, say, Heat 6 and going straight into the E-Main, they're going to have a lot more track knowledge than drivers that came into the E-Main from Heat number 1, because the track will be completely different for those drivers from Heat 1. So there's a lot of variation here, and these drivers later on in the sessions, they have maybe a slight advantage here.
In some ways, yeah, I feel like that is true, but again, Tim Ryan has got the best starting spot. There's Ethan Irons, by the way, who's leaving the pit lane after coming down and getting some damage repair. Everyone just trying to do whatever they can to make their chance of getting through to the A-Main, the 35 laps that really count, as good as possible. There was contact from behind, James Seawright and Colt Curry. That was before the green flag has even dropped. It's once again going to be a bit of a hold there from Ethan Winter, but as we go racing once again in Heat 5 with 5 laps complete, that battle for third is surely going to pick up in intensity. Seawright going to be alongside with Curry as we battle down the back straight.
And Berkey as well, immediately to the inside, into the first couple of corners, looking for that fourth position, up into the wall, as well as now go side by side with Byron Gay, who gets up into fifth for now, and wall riding a couple of cars, getting up into the wall.
Jonathan Berkey slides backwards. Colt Curry still focused forward, but with now just 3 to go at the line. The top 3 looking relatively comfortable in their opportunity to transfer to the main event.
Very different lines being taken here as we take a look at the driver in second position here, Colton West. Into the fence.
He's up and into the wall. James Seawright comes on through. And can Colt Curry get by as they slide through that final couple of corners? Going to be the up and under if Colton West can make it work. But now with one more lap to battle, slide job attempted, contact between the two. And Byron Gay's going to come on through to take advantage. Ethan Winter's going to win heat number 5. But Byron Gay and James Seawright advance with him.
Absolute chaos on the final lap. You could almost see it coming as well. They're running very loose there through the last few laps before this, and contact was almost inevitable, but it had to be those drivers up at the top, and Byron Gay sneaks his way through into the feature. We'll be very happy with that.
Still waiting for Colton West to come towards the line, but we can grab a look at the provisional results in that 5th heat. 1.2 at the front for Ethan Winter. Seawright and Gay confirmed advancing on forward, and the rest will, as I said earlier with some of those other drivers, get one more opportunity to advance in the last chance qualifiers. The final heat is going to get ready to go, and Sean English, who has won 3 of the 4 Knoxville Nationals that he has ran through the course of the week to make his way to the Super Session, will be on the front row alongside Jonathan Dolly. Matthew Stables and Charles New the third on the second row with Corey Wenzel, and then Jordan Etter sharing row number 3. 7th for Isaac Wilson, 8th for Cole Chabifsky, with Christopher Hickman and Craig Payden. The final cars that will roll out here for the heat races tonight. The field gets stacked up and ready to go. My goodness, Dane, this has been crazy already.
Yeah, I said chaos before we got started, and I'm going to stick by that. We've had some chaos already, and these are only the heat races. We haven't even got into the alphabet soup yet, or even the feature race, where the caution laps won't even count. So this is, it's only going to get more hectic from here.
And of course, like you said, in those last chance qualifiers, it's as the name implies. There's no coming back after that. It's the final opportunity to make a bit of a statement in 2023's iRacing Knoxville National. It's all going to be all then about focusing back around for 2024 or one of the future special events that we've got coming up. Mentioned for Sean English, by the way, attempted 4 Knoxville Nationals through the course of the week. Won 3 of them. Those are some pretty good numbers there.
It's going to give you a little bit of confidence heading into this one, especially, and starting right there up at the front end of things and hoping to get that feature locked in. And then anything can happen.
Anything can happen indeed. Pace truck will pull off and away. 3 final drivers have guaranteed spots in the feature waiting for them. And the rest of the drivers will have nervous heart rates and will be waiting to see which of the alphabet soups they're in, where they're gridded up, and what percentage, what probability of a chance they have of making it to be one of the drivers lined up for 35 laps later on tonight. Sean English gets us underway for the final heat race in this 2023 iRacing Knoxville Nationals, but it's through the opening corner where the challenge from Matthew Stables makes him come under fire from Jonathan Dolly. A fight for 2nd and 3rd, but 4th and 5th positions too far behind to take advantage.
Some more new lines being taken by the drivers on the defensive, and Corey Wenzel trying to catch up to these two battling here. Stables and Dolly going at it for 2nd and 3rd.
It's at the end of the 2nd lap where that gap continues to close, and Corey Wenzel now within touching distance of the back of the 39. Everyone up high except for those trying to make something different work. And now Dolly in defense goes down low, trying to work forward on Stables.
Simultaneously going for that 2nd spot, but also keeping an eye on Corey Wenzel in the number 18, making his way through as well. Right up to the back of the 39, taking the high line, trying to keep that speed up. Not quite working out just yet, but still a little bit of time in this one.
You can see them digging the right rear into the cushion on the outside and trying to get a bit more purchase off the corner. Wenzel with a great run, and now underneath the 39. It's going to be a little bit too much, though, to really slide on through. Dolly holds firm. Look at Sean English break away, though, as the battle continues to rumble behind him.
Yeah, couldn't quite get the traction on the exit. Wenzel now is going to try a different approach. Trying to keep the speed into the wall.
Matthew Stables hits the wall, but it's going to be stable for him. Still working, though, on 3rd is Corey Wenzel. And now as they run their way into turn 3, slide job will be attempted.
Gets up in front, tries to close the door, does so successfully for now. Gets up into 3rd, but the slide jump from the 39 straight back and into each other and into the fence they go.
And missing the wing now is Corey Wenzel. Charles New makes more contact, and that's going to put the, well, wing reappears magically. It's going to put the 18 back into the path of the oncoming traffic, but with a potentially still damaged car. The fight for 3rd now sees Isaac Wilson in the prime spot, but with 3 wide, more contact off the corner.
I'm surprised we haven't seen a caution come out just yet, but the 55 seems to be doing pretty well with things. Now we look at the 37, final lap to try and get something done and up into the feature.
At the very front, Sean English is just going to waltz away with the victory in the 6th and final heat race. Matthew Stables will advance with the number 4 machine, and Isaac Wilson going to be the 3rd and final driver to head directly into the feature. And I mean, you can tell how excited that they are.
Yeah, very excited, that's for sure. Absolute chaos in that final heat race. I mean, what went on there? I'm surprised we didn't get a caution. There were cars going all over the place.
Cars going everywhere. Let's grab a look at those results, and then we will make our way into the first of the alphabet soup, into the first of the last chance qualifiers. Sean English, Matthew Stables, and Isaac Wilson don't have to concern themselves with that, while the rest of the drivers will be getting gridded up and focused up. It is the E-Main with which we can first look. Jonathan Dolly, Logan Mann, Dustin Sargent, Ashton Mealer, Chad Griggs, and Coulter West. Plenty of those drivers have already shown just how rapid that they are, but only the top 4 will advance, and we've got extra machines to add into the mix. Charles New, Logan Hartman, Terrell Wheeler, Daniel Moore, Ryan Avila, Jarrett Neese, and then potentially as well Christopher Hickman to make up what might be a 13-car field. think realistically it's going to be a little bit smaller than that as the lights continue to be more required, the sun continues to set, and now the stakes get ratcheted up even more.
Yeah, we've got 12 cars taking the green flag once again. Only the 10 laps here in the E-main, and we will see which of the top 4 drivers are making it through only to the D-main. And then they do the whole thing over again, and potentially again. They have a long road to try and make it to the feature.
If you are just joining us, let's just reiterate how this is going to play out with our race format. The laps do increase from the E-main through the B-main, but it is only 4 drivers from the B-main that advance to the feature. Everyone else we will be saying goodbye to, Dane.
Yep, so we have a lot of drivers to work through, a lot of spots to make themselves qualify for the next race, but if drivers from this E-main want to make it to the feature, they have a lot of racing to do yet.
We'll see how many of these drivers have a chance. They will line up at the back of the next consolation race, and in each race the job just gets harder and harder. The drivers get quicker and quicker. These drivers have a lot of work on their hands. The alphabet soup gets ready to be boiled up. Jonathan Dolly in control of the 12 that get ready to battle for just 4 spots in the next stage of the alphabet soup. Bit of a wiggle on the second row, and already a slide and a change. Dustin Sargent up to 2nd, and Logan Mann's going to be down to 6th and outside of the transfer spots.
Immediately pushed out of the way and pushed all the way back down to 8th position now. So Mann from the top 4, no longer in those transfer spots to the D-main, and they're still side by side further up for 5th. It's absolute chaos here. They're going 2 wide, 2 rows back. So
Chad Griggs currently sits in that 4th transfer spot, we'll call it, but it's really the final spot in the D-main. It's Griggs that gets in front of Mealer, and whoa, with almost contact then to Coulter West. You got to be careful here, going on the offense while you're also defending at the same time. Battle for the lead though potentially brewing.
Yep, there's cars absolutely everywhere, and here goes Sargent for the lead up, sliding up the racetrack, and just about gets it done. No, sticks in 2nd for now, but almost contact made. Well, the 24.
There comes Mealer with the inside line. Definitely not the preferred groove. It will get him past initially Dustin Sargent, and a big slide job for the lead. Dolly cuts back underneath, but as we run our way down the back straightaway, it's still the 39 that's at the point.
Incredible stuff there. It's a wonder that they kept out of the fence. As I say that, a little bit of a touch to the wall for Mealer, who drops down now to 3rd position, still side by side for 2nd. Dolly gets a breather for a second.
Oh, and they were 3 wide, I think, for 5th position, but crucially not for 4th, which is, of course, where Coulter West sits, and relatively comfortably right now, you'd have to say as well. Halfway through this E-main, every race after this, 2 more laps get thrown onto the board.
Well, a lot of drivers will be very happy with half a second gap to the car behind them, especially with only 4 laps to go in this race. Lap 7 of 10, the 24 back down to the bottom. We'll see how it works out for Mealer. Riding on board with Sargent.
On board with Dustin Sargent as the slide job from Mealer sees him go from 4th to 1st. Opportunity for Sargent to slide on forward as well. Dolly down to 3rd.
Incredible stuff from the drivers, and Dolly gets pushed all the way back, and now under pressure from Coulter West. With a couple of laps left, those 2 might be fighting over 3rd.
It is just this one final trip around Knoxville, up to the very outside. Dustin Sargent runs himself into the cushion. Dolly was trying to cover off a move from Coulter West, and they will bang wheels on the very final lap of the race. Ashton Mealer was the most aggressive of them all. There's going to be a change for 4th, and Charles New's going to grab the final transfer spot.
There was chaos in the background. I think I saw 3 cars making contact. It all got very busy there for 4th position.
Well, Ashton Mealer does indeed grab the victory there. Let's quickly take a look at those results and confirm that Charles New advances on forward as well. Big drama then at the end of the D-main when we knew the tempers may end up flaring. Already getting gridded up though for the next phase of the race, where 12 laps, another 4 spots But now, more drivers shuffled into the mix. It's Nikolai Polyakov and Alan White on the front row, with Jonathan Danley and then Corey Wenzel behind them, Jared Pettit, and then David Lance share row number 3. Riley Moore, Joshua Gass, Colt Curry, Ashton Mealer, Dustin Sargent, Coulter West, and then Charles New as we get into those drivers that work their way on forward. But my oh my, we can already tell just how desperate the drivers are going to be, Dane, as they battle to try and get on through.
And as we get through these races as well, the closer and closer we get to those feature positions. And the closer we're going to get, the drivers are going to get much more anxious about it. They're going to want it even more. Obviously, in the E-main, you're thinking your hopes of getting into the feature, they're not that great. You're just trying to get as far as you can. But if you get into the B-main, now the feature positions are on the line. So the stakes are just going to get higher and higher and higher as we progress through this alphabet soup.
Another 13 enter the mix. Only 4 will advance on forward. And for Mealer, the one that was able to most comprehensively work on forward, there is the potential that having the knowledge of the track state is going to help at this phase now, Dane.
Yeah, obviously it's the same track that they've just left from the previous race, whereas all the other drivers would have had at least a few laps on the surface prior. So yeah, they're going to maybe struggle a little bit to get to grips with the track, especially some of the drivers from the earlier heats who've been off the track for quite a while now.
It's also about knowing what adjustments you can be making to the open setups of these cars. Maybe where you need to position that wing, what little things that you can do. And hopefully making sure that you've got enough fuel to make it those 2 extra laps that we've added into the mix this time around. Nikolai Polyakov, Alan White, front row, and now being checked up with the pace truck off and away. Polyakov gets us racing, and already a stack up and potentially a caution. Big drama in towards the opening corner. We couldn't even get a couple of corners in. Caution flag is not out, and big drama.
Caution flag not out. There, we did have cautions in the heats. There is a possibility that we just don't have cautions today, because if anything deserved the caution that we've seen so far today, it's that. We saw 6 cars involved in that incident off the start line. And now we're going to have a look here. Dustin Sargent trying to get the inside and making that move for 3rd on Corey Wenzel.
This is realistically just for the starting spot in the next of the Alphabet Soup races, unless Wenzel's going to feel the pressure from Josh Gast. I mean, here's a look at the replay, and they all stacked over each other before we even technically got to the line.
Literally every car involved in that, apart from the leaders.
Yeah, and other than Polyakov and Danley, everyone else got tangled up in that. Couple of looks at it, but not sure what we really need to look at there. Up towards the front, Polyakov passed by Danley, and now a slide job attempted once more. The last thing that these two should really do, Dane, is tangle with one another.
And we've already seen that happen today in the heat races. So that is the last thing that these two need to do. They've got such a big gap behind them. They're almost getting to the stage where they suddenly get closer to the drivers in front of them than they are to the drivers behind. So they really don't need to get involved with each other. Yes, it would be nice to start one position further up in the next race once you get there, but realistically, just getting there in the first place is more important.
You saw the looks on board with both drivers, one from behind, one in front, but plenty of clean air to focus on. Behind, they are still single filed out. Ashton Mealer, winner of that first consolation race, is up to the 6th spot, but it's Charles New that's with Dustin Sargent. Move forward 8 positions. That's a ride into the wall, and Ashton Mealer's going to get up the inside of Charles New. This is not inside of the top 4. Josh Gast 1 second up the road. Back to the inside. Charles New and Ashton Mealer continue to fight, continue to duke, but all the while bleeding time to the 47 in front. It's going to be 3 laps to go for your leaders. Gap starting to build between Danley and Polyakov. We've got Dustin Sargent still comfortably sitting in 3rd. Mealer and New, as they continue to fight Dane, have got just a couple of laps to figure this out and to close up the road.
Yeah, they don't have a massive gap to the driver ahead that they're looking at in that 4th position of Josh Gast, but they need to sort themselves out here first. And up into the fence again to 24, and that's going to allow Charles New the 3rd back up into that 5th position and now can fully focus on catching the car in front.
Doesn't work as well as Ross Chastain showed. There's the white flag ready to become a checkered. Jonathan Danley victorious in the D main. Polyakov, Sargent and Gas, the rest of the top 4 for Charles New and Ashton Miller see their day come to an end. Unfortunately, the challenge to work on forward from the E-main was too much for them. Another fascinating race though with which to work our way through. And as we grab a look at the results, confirm the 5-second difference there between the top 4. Ultimately, the story of that race was the drama on the opening lap. 7 cars scored on the lead lap. Coulter West also finishing, Riley Moore, Jared Pettit, as well as David Lance, Alan White, and then Colt Curry finding their day ending, unfortunately, in unfortunate fashion. Here's how they'll line up then for the C main. Josh Berkey, Cole Chabisky, Dylan Shreves, Lachlan Rogers, Matteo DeLoke, and then Delton Shearer. They make up the front 6 drivers, while Ethan Irons, Craig Payton, Ryan Vela, Andrew Stables, Jonathan Danley, Nikolai Polyakov, and then Dustin Sargent and Joshua Gass make up the 14 that get ready to do battle once more. I think, Dane, we're still a little bit shocked as to the lack of caution in that previous race.
Yeah, I mean, we came into today thinking, okay, we don't have cautions until the feature. And then we got a caution in the heats. So, okay, we've got cautions, but now we didn't get a caution there. And if there was anything that we've seen today that deserved a caution, I think the entire field getting wrecked at the start of the race deserves a caution. But we didn't get one. So my understanding now is that we won't have cautions for the rest of the alphabet soup. Maybe they just got incredibly lucky that we didn't get a caution. We'll have to wait and see if we get any more wrecks in these races building up towards the feature, but we're getting closer.
We are getting closer and closer, and at each stage you can also feel that tension build, the intensity rise. These drivers know that even if they get through this C main, the B main lies in front. It's 14 laps to go this time, 16 in that B main. The level of driver obviously expected to increase as well. Over under on how many cars finish this race on the lead lap, Dane?
Oh, I'll go for, we got 14 cars in the field, I'll say 11.
All right, I think you're probably looking correctly optimistic. I feel good about this one. Pace truck off and away, and an early jump there from Josh Berkey. Chabisky under fire from Shreves through the opening corner as the 29 almost slides through the leader. Plenty of contact behind, down the back straightaway, a swap around inside the top 4.
Somehow everybody's still running. We've lost maybe a couple of cars a bit further back as they make their way. We're looking 3 wide now through the first couple of corners. Once again, we go through 14 laps in this one. Big wreck at the back. And this will be a good test. If we get cautions, we do get a caution.
It was Jonathan Danley that got mixed up after winning the previous race. We slow things down, and now I'm assuming that the caution laps will indeed count. Let's see if we can go ahead and take a look at the replay of what happened here. This is up towards the front. We'll need to go back and pick up what happened to Danley in the 34. Excuse me, in the 30. It was the 34. I got it right the first time by. It's just on the outside, riding the cushion, and then as cars make contact in front, he's the one that goes straight back into the pit lane.
Yeah, that was quite a lot, and caution laps, they don't seem to be counting here.
Now, I don't think they're counting. That would line up with the expectation, but it means that we will have a 12-lap run once we go back to the racing. It's Berkey that's still in the front with Shreves, Chabisky, and then Rogers, the rest of the top 4. Gives an opportunity for maybe those that are just outside the bubble like Ethan Irons to get a bit of a jump on the restart.
Well, I said right at the beginning of the show, and you rightly called me out for it, maybe we get a caution.
Just a few.
Just a few.
See how it goes in the feature. That's where we're expecting to have a few more. The lights are still on the pace truck. Line continues to be up at the very highest point on the cushion. It's all about who's got the most confidence to try and make a low line work in terms of a slide job, and who's going to be the most aggressive. Lights are off, we're ready to go racing once more. 12 laps here, 16 laps in the B main, and then just a couple of minutes will separate us from going racing for the 35 laps to decide the 2023 iRacing Knoxville Nationals champ. We're not 2x2, we are single file through the field. It's still Berkey that's in control, but now with Shreve, not Chapivsky, directly behind. They're all stacked up and ready to go, and there's contact for third position. Chapivsky's gonna lose out, down to 6, 3 wide, down through turn 1.
And that's horrible, but there is still plenty of time left in this race. Still going backward, down to 8th position now. We've seen that a couple of times already, but now we take a look to see what's happening a bit further back, further forwards, I should say, around this cutoff for the top 4.
Ethan Irons throws a slide job on Lachlan Rogers, who had already thrown a slider on Dustin Sargent. Plenty of fighting going on here, but it's as Berkey and Shreves run away at the front.
23 running right down low, getting the slide up and back up in front of the 16. Cautions out.
And I believe this one might end up involving the fact that Cole Chapivsky has just returned to the pit lane. See if we can dial up a replay here and figure out exactly what this one was for. And it's as the car comes through the corner, just ends up with some contact, once in the wall, twice in the wall, and that's all she wrote.
And that's not a very happy looking sprint car.
Neither is that one. That's Polyakov. There's a couple down on that pit lane.
That's not what we like to see. I can't say it's not what we expected perhaps to see.
Now definitely I think what we did expect that we might see, but it means that we just got effectively a 2-lap run. We'll still have 10 laps to go this time by. Do kind of feel that for Berkey and Shreves, they're relatively close on speed. Not expecting them to force the issue too much. It's behind where, I don't know. I'm expecting there to be plenty of drama.
Lovely aerial shots here of Knoxville, producing some fantastic racing for us so far. Let's see if we can get more than 2 laps green in this C main. We'll see.
We will see indeed. You can see Shreves continuing just to try and set things up as we get closer and closer to the green flag dropping. The truck has its lights off. It will get ready to pull off towards the left. And with 2 cautions already in this penultimate round of the last chance qualifiers, 4 drivers know they've still got 16 laps to survive after this race is in the books. Once again, it's a good jump at the front. Dylan Shreves under fire from Lachlan Rogers as we cycle in toward turn number 1. Ethan Irons still comfortably in that 4th position as the top 4 look comfortable down the back straight.
They do look pretty comfortable. Stables trying to catch up that gap, but not quite able to make anything happen. Dropping back now half a second back to this top 4 as they make their way through. Much less chaotic start to things here at this second restart.
And we have got another 2 laps effectively complete now, but it is with a swap around behind. Gas in front of Stables. Around the outside, the long way for the purple machine, and it's going to be enough to momentarily have 5th position once again. But you can see that if you're brave, if you're willing, you can make different things work. Doesn't mean you're going to have an easy job to get on through.
That's one of the things that you've got to love about dirt racing, is that such different lines can produce such different results. All into the back of the 31, and that was Dustin Sargent. Now potentially having some problems there. Also, Ethan Irons getting to the fence.
And the yellow flag drops once more. And I think it's because of Andrew Stables having a moment there. But 3rd caution means we slow things down again. And Benny, the pace car driver, whizzes out once and away to meet the field out on track.
The pace truck driver has done more laps than some of the drivers on the field so far.
Yeah, that's true. There's not many laps even if you do make it to the feature. Let's say you complete just 2 laps in qualifying, then 10 laps in your heat, you're at 12 there. Add in 35 with caution laps not counting in the feature. It's not many laps out there for you to race.
Well, yes, but you could also end up doing a heat race and ending up going to the E-main and making it all the way to the feature. Then you'd do quite a few laps.
That is the maximum number of laps that you could get. What would that even be? It would be what? 10? Well, you don't want to hear me do all the math by myself, but I figure that's just under 100 laps or so.
I'm going to do some quick mental math, and I'm going to say this right now. Never trust a commentator's math, especially if it's Arjuna or me.
I think it's 97. Not including qualifying, which would make it 99. You don't feel confident to doubt me, do you?
I don't.
See, I'm going to say it with confidence, which means it must be right.
That's the Lewis McGlade way of thinking. I like it.
It is indeed. Here at the sprint car capital of the world, though, taking steps to be closer and closer to locking in our field for the main event. Only now, what, 6 laps away and then 1 more race from seeing the field locked in. Still Berkey, Shreves, Rogers and Irons in that order at the front, but it's increasingly been a long hold from the 22, and once again Berkey waits before he stamps on the loud pedal and gets us racing. Shreves, Rogers and Irons looking comfortable, but Dustin Sargent trying to get up to the top 4.
47 up the inside, trying to make that low line work. I'm not sure if it's going to be able to make that stick. As Sargent up into the top 4 for now.
It's still, though, all while they're fighting and costing each other potentially the opportunity to have other drivers in the front mixed up here. There was contact. Shreves is going to be in the wall. Is that going to bring out the caution once again? For the 4th time in this C-main will slow things down.
Is there a lapped car in the front pack?
There very well could be.
I think there is, the 16.
So I think Shreves is going to be back down on towards the pit lane as a result of that one. Let's see if we can spool up what happened there. Just before, you can see the contact with Rogers, and then hard into the outside wall, tumbling across the track.
Now I'm looking at the timing.
Okay.
What? I think there's a lapped car there. I'm not 100% sure here, but I was looking at the battle for 4th, and I was seeing 6 cars.
So you can see, looking back from Josh Berkey, that you do have Lachlan Rogers in that number 16 red machine that is directly there. Not sure who else we can pick up from the shot. The stealth black of Ethan Irons, the green, I think, of Dustin Sargent. Looking okay for the time being. Can't see the pace truck, which means I think we're getting ready to go back to go racing. And Berkey is trying to set the field up for another healthy jump towards the front. Actually, in fact, it's such a long gap towards the pace truck. Not sure why he's leaving such a big room.
Oh, well, the drivers always have their reasons for these kinds of things. I guess it's so that he can get an earlier run when the restart does happen.
Problem is he going to even be able to see? Well, I guess iRacing tells him when we're going racing again, but I'm not sure you could tell if the lights were off if you were in the real car. I think this would be an uncomfortably far distance back to actually be sitting. 4 laps left to settle this, though. For some drivers, the final 4 laps in the 2023 iRacing Knoxville Nationals, and Lachlan Rogers was caught napping there a bit on the restart. Green flag back in the air. Ethan Irons works on 2nd. Dustin Sargent under fire for 4th.
Making their way through now. Joshua Gast up the inside. Making that work for now, but a contact.
There is going to be more contact surely on exit. They give each other room, but it's as here comes Stables trying to take advantage and peek up the inside. They'll have 2 laps with which to figure this out, and the top 2 breaking away, 5 for 3rd behind.
Still side by side here inside that top 4. Stables just about has it. Stables up into 3rd.
And it's going to get the 2-for-1 slide job special as we head on to the penultimate lap, rather final lap of the race. White flag in hand. Dustin Sargent and Josh Gass fighting for the final spot in the B main. Outside line for the 31, and that should be enough to secure that position. Big drama there. It was a fight all the way to the line. Josh Berkey, Ethan Irons, Andrew Stables, and Dustin Sargent have one final breath left to give.
Absolute chaos. That is a lot of cautions in that race. Hopefully we won't have to relive that, but brilliant racing whilst it was clean for those top 4 positions, and the 3 of them doing an incredible job. It's a shame we have to say goodbye to one of them.
And so we'll take a look at the results very quickly. Only 8 cars classified on the lead lap as a result of all of those stop and start results, but for Shearer, Shreves, Chabivsky and Danley, they'll be the most frustrated to not have been able to see the checkered flag. Well, here we go, the final 16 laps. 4 more drivers to lock themselves into the field. It'll be Bradley Cox and then Zach Hodel on the front row with Michael Giberson, Shunsuke Tashima, Chris Frost, and then Jordan Etter through your front 6 drivers. Andrew Clark, Tyler Schoen, Chad Bernier, Jeff Drake, Josh Berkey, and then Andrew Stables through your top 12 before Dustin Sargent and Joshua Gass are at the very back of the field. Let's not forget that they do, of course, have the fact that some of these drivers have been waiting for quite a while to go racing.
That they have, and especially as we make our way into this B main. There's drivers in here from right at the beginning of the day. They've been sitting out for quite some time. We'll have that again for the feature later on. But this is where it gets to the business end. Top 4 straight to the feature, and the stakes could not be higher.
I believe that at least one driver maybe has not made the grid, so Josh Gass has maybe not got the memo that he had got in that 4th position. Means just 13 drivers get ready to head to go racing. Give a shout out, by the way, to Dustin Sargent, who's gone from the E main to the B main, just one more step to climb, Dane.
Yeah, we were wondering if it was going to be possible. Getting this far is already a massive achievement, but it is going to be a tough time to make your way up this many spots. We'll see. I'm going to have some luck, going to have some cars have problems. But if there's one person that could do it, looks pretty good so far.
16 more laps here. 4 more drivers have a chance to fight. The rest will be watching on from the sidelines for the main event of the iRacing Knoxville Nationals. Early jump from Bradley Cox, racing once again at the sprint car capital of the world. Almost 3 wide behind, but inside of the top 4, relatively calm, relatively stagnant. Tashima trying to make sure that they don't tangle too much and cost themselves time to those behind.
And it looks like we've lost Jordan Etter as well from the back of the field. Caught up in an incident behind, no caution.
Tashima's though having to battle here. Chad Bernier's up the inside. From behind, Josh Berkey's in the mix as well. And Tashima might get squandered and caught out, running that high line with no momentum.
Almost 3 wide as they make their way back through into the corner. 26 all the way up the outside, getting tremendous speed. Can't quite make the move stick just yet. Sticks outside of that top 4.
Bernier, Giberson, Berkey, those are the 3 currently in contention. Berkey's climbed 7 spots in these opening stages to put himself in the mix. Dustin Sargent, unfortunately, sees the charge come to an end. He's watching on from pit lane. Zach Hodel and Bradley Cox are not fighting at the front. They're looking comfortable. It's just 2 spots on the line, and Berkey with contact is down to 6th.
Contact was stable, I think it was. And here comes Tashima. You can see this is the battle for the transfer spot. Tashima in 8th at the moment, but can they make something work here? 4 wide in front.
Oh my goodness me! This is remarkable, and Andrew Clark has slid his way up into 4th. Berkey now up the inside will rip it away from him, but almost halfway through the B main, no one giving an inch for the final spot in the feature.
wide, 2 rows back now as they're going to try and make it 3. Off the corner they come as we approach the halfway point of this race, adding to the lap count each of these main events. Still plenty of time.
Top 2, as mentioned, not fighting, separated as well. Zach Cottle, Bradley Cox holding down the fort. Berkey pinned on that inside now. Andrew Clark's found his momentum up high and is not looking like he's feeling the pressure too much.
No, he is not. They're going side by side further back as well. They start to spread out ever so slightly compared to what we were seeing before.
So it'll be 6 laps to go next time by for your leader. That gap continues to build. Josh Berkey's committed down low, doesn't really want to come up high, but that's because you've got to do something different to try and find a way past.
But just having a look here, Chad Bernier is actually dropping back ever so slightly, and as we ride on board with the 8 car, looking ahead at 3rd position, could make things interesting here.
Gap still holding steady. Laps ticking away, opportunities ticking away as well. Bernier, yes, slowing down, but Berkey more content to just try and find a way alongside. 4 laps to go, and the top 3, I would say, steady. Andrew Stables, Tashima, they're costing each other too much time.
Yep, it's all down to Josh Berkey now. Will he be able to get past that low line? Just doesn't seem like it's working.
Chad Bernier is being caught. He's going to be involved with now just 3 laps to run. Clark and Berkey still in the mix, but if both of them don't fight too hard, the 38 might have to watch out as well.
Through they go. They're still side by side, only a couple of laps to go, and Clark just about holding on for now. Only a 10th separating them.
Only a 10th between them, but now with just 1 final lap, and Berkey's going to have to get desperate. It comes down to this. 1 lap, 1 final spot in the feature. Are we going to see a slide job? Not going to see it happen through the final lap. Zach Cottle's going to come to the line. Bradley Cox, Chad Bernier, and Andrew Clark make it to the main event.
Brilliant racing from the drivers. Absolutely fantastic stuff. We saw them going 4 wide in that, and now we prepare ourselves for the feature. This is going to be special.
We'll grab a look at the results. Goodness me. The alphabet soup brought plenty of drama. 1.7 at the front for Zach Cottle, looking comfortable to grab himself one of 4 spots in the main event. Bradley Cox, Chad Bernier, Andrew Clark. The other ones that have one more chance to fight, you have Josh Berkey, Andrew Stables, Michael Giberson, Shunsuke Tashima, Tyler Show, and Chris Frost. And then a couple more that unfortunately have said goodbye to us. 3 drivers not even getting a chance to make it all the way to the very end of their final race of the day. The drivers getting that final chance to head out onto track and dial in their setups, and for those that made their way in from the heat races, 1 final chance to figure out what they've got left underneath them. Don't go anywhere here on RaceSpot TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. We'll be right back with the main event of the night. 60 drivers have been whittled down to the fastest 20, and now 35 laps stand between them and a chance at history, a chance at the 2023 iRacing Knoxville Nationals. Hello everyone, welcome back to RaceSpot TV and to the iRacing Esports Network. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to be alongside with Dane Baird. You can see the drivers out there for the warm-up session. Dane, the night lights are out and we are ready to turn the spotlight on the drivers.
Yeah, it will be the biggest field that we've had all day. Plenty of racing already, but it all comes down to this, the longest race that we will have and the most important one. Who will be taking the ground tonight? It's about time to find out.
Still about 60 odd seconds before they get their final orders to head down to the starting line on the pit lane before they'll fire the engines and head out for the 2 formation laps. Don't forget that the iRacing special events are really about the diversity that iRacing has to offer. There's a little bit of everything, a little bit of something for everybody. And it's not the last dirt event that we've got this coming year. Crandon, of course, breaks out the Pro 4 trucks. That's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll head indoors to close out the special event calendar, Dane, at the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals once more.
And what a unique special event that will be at the end of the year. Always a fun one when we do head to the Chili Bowl. But right now, still on the dirt, but Knoxville, quite a different story.
Very different story, that is for sure. Let's not forget Tyler Shell, Gunnar Harris, our previous special champions here, or at least special session winners on the broadcast. The field size of 60, picked from the top 60 in points that are registered for the Super Session, all making their way for their chance to fight at the sprint car capital of the world. If you're just joining us, you've missed the alphabet suit, you've missed the last chance qualifiers, but it's a chance for us to remind you that caution laps will not count when we head into the feature. Drivers have got to take that into account to make sure they have got enough fuel in the tank to run themselves through the course of the entirety of the race. Some of these drivers have been waiting since the heat races to go racing, and that is the case for our pole position sitter. Tim Ryan put it on pole when the pressure was on in qualifying, but as we're ready to crown our 2023 iRacing Knoxville's national champ, let's run you down through today's starting grid. And the iRacing world champion in the USAC days, Tim Ryan, will bring us to the green alongside Matthew Powell, while Aidan Burline and then Chase Stewart are on the second row of the grid. Ethan Winter and then Sean English will share the third row, while inside of the fourth row, Kenny Hoffman is alongside with Blake Giglio. Tanner Miller and then Ross Kaiser complete the top 10 for James C. Wright. Matthew Stables, 11th and 12th, are inside of the top 12. Connor Darnell and Mike Snyder behind them on the 7th row of the grid. Clayton Davies, Cody Hillman, Byron Gay, and then Isaac Wilson. That's the drivers that made their way in directly from the heats before Zach Hodel, Bradley Cox, Chad Bernier, and Andrew Clark, those that decided not to make their life easy, made their way through the alphabet soup. Already off and rolling for the pace laps. Dane, a last chance for a prediction of who comes out on top.
Well, I think there's only one person that I can really go for. The performance in qualifying was fantastic. The performance in the heat was spectacular. And of course, being a world champion, Tim Bryant's got my bet, but some very quick drivers just behind, and I'm sure they're going to give him a good run for his money.
There's of course no track reset between the warm-up or even before the warm-up. It is worn. That is one thing that Tim Ryan maybe will be experiencing for the first time in a while. The warm-up will have helped, but it's definitely still something that the adjustments will have to be made. Open setup means that all these drivers will hopefully have the cars dialed in to their exact specifications, and they will understand what they need to do from here. For the third year in a row, we are ready to go from the sprint car capital of the world. We are 2 by 2, 11 rows deep. 22 cars were ready to fight for 35 laps in the 2023 iRacing Knoxville Nationals. It's Tim Ryan that gets us going, and Aidan Burline jumps into second spot.
It's a really poor start from the driver, starting in second position. Powell not getting away well at all. Burline getting up into second position. Sean English trying to follow him in that inside line, working well for them for the time being.
You can see the fireworks going off as we get this race underway, but the fireworks are very much now up on that outside line where the field is concentrated. Almost 3 wide for 5th position, but Tim Ryan looking comfortable at the front.
Very comfortable lead over half a second now between him and Bearline behind. English up into 3rd position proper, as well as so we may have had a little bit of contact further back, maybe with Tanner Miller, who's dropped back a couple of positions now.
Isaac Wilson is down on the pit lane and getting some assistance. Fireworks continue to go off as we get ready to rumble to the end of lap 4. Tim Ryan not exactly waltzing away from the field by any means, but it's as they continue to have to battle behind. Miller's down low, Beerline as well, pinched down on the inside. Sean English, is up 4 positions and hunting down the Australian.
A brilliant first opening 5 laps for Sean English, and now with a bit of a gap behind as well. Powell to the outside and getting up in front of Bearline as well. Will that hold out of the corner? Yes, it will. And here comes the 13 of Chase Stewart as well.
These drivers are very much mixing it up in these early stages. Beerline, one of the few drivers committed down low, and it will be to his detriment. Tanner Miller pinches him, and Tanner Miller goes to 4.
Brilliant move there from Miller, but it's not the top 4 that he's got to worry about now. It's purely trying to get up to the front, and right now that belongs to Tim Bryan with over half a second, still looking quite comfortable up there.
Sean English has not been able to make inroads, at least significantly. It's still holding steady at the very front of the field as they fight their way, and with sliders being thrown. The 9 of Ross Kaiser now slides in front of Chase Stewart as well as Aidan Beerline, but that's a fight now for 6th spot.
Interesting to see the drivers, so many drivers taking completely different lines from each other. A little bit of a touch to the wall there for the 9 of Ross Kaiser. A couple more, he's into the wall and he's into the fence, and cars going by.
They all get away with it though. Still no caution inside of these opening 10 laps. There's Sean English. Again, 3 out of 4 wins this past week in the daily attempts at the Knoxville Nationals. It will give him plenty of opportunities to understand how this track evolves at the front with clean air.
Switching up the lines each time he goes around the course. Trying to see what's working and what's not working. Trying to catch up to Tim Ryan, who's currently holding that gap. Has actually extended by a couple of tenths last time by. It looks like it's...
The leaders are very much breaking away, but it's as they just continue to fight like madmen in the mid-pack. You've got Aidan Beerline in the very colourful number 2 that runs in 5th, effectively at the front of the 3rd group of cars. Sean English has made a mistake and now finds himself well off the back of our race leader.
No, I shouldn't say it, but I'm going to anyway. I'm surprised by the lack of caution so far. The drivers have been getting all sorts of close to each other, but so far keeping it clean.
Are we going to see traffic play a factor at some point though? Tim Ryan comes to the end of lap 13 and is as calm as you'd like, continuing to lead. It's been perfect so far after putting it on pole by 29 thousandths of a second. Ross Kaiser's up the track. Ross Kaiser's the 6th.
Oh, and a little bit of a touch to the fence. You've got sparks flying there. Lovely to take a look at. Chase Stewart also going up high, and Ross Kaiser sending it sideways on the low line as well, really gave them that car nice and sideways.
3 wide once again. You've got Chase Stewart, Matthew Stables, and Ross Kaiser all fighting in and amongst each other. And it's with a pinch down low that 13 of Stewart compromises Stables. Giglio will try and bring the momentum around the outside. This all inside of the top 10.
That it is, and you've got drivers in the middle, drivers on the bottom, drivers up high, all running completely different lines, but they're all sticking with each other. It's fantastic to see.
Look from up above. It's a bit of a worrying sight at times as well, just to see how much they pitch the cars into the corner and trust that they're going to be given the room on exit. There is plenty of contact, but halfway through this race, it's at the front, 1.5 seconds clear that Tim Ryan continues to dominate.
Putting in the same performance he put in the heat race, the first heat race that we saw all evening. He's just building that gap up to Sean English as we take a look on the bottom of what is going on further back, and Tim Ryan knows absolutely none of it.
He doesn't want to know any of it. He's hoping that the caution doesn't fly though, and we can stay clear, we can stay out of trouble, and things are looking up for him. There's Mike Snyder's very distinctive bright red machine. He works around the outside now of Connor Darnell. It's not just inside of the top 10 that they're fighting, inside of the top 22.
They're fighting everywhere. I mean, just look at this. Cars absolutely everywhere, as you can see. A bit of contact further back, and I think we're just about going to avoid a caution, are we? There's a car stranded on the circuit, and the caution flag is out. Tim Ryan's worst nightmare.
And it's James Seawright that ends up being the one that gets spun around and brings out the caution. Means we'll stop things with 20 laps complete, and with what will be, I think, 13, 14 laps to go.
Yep, caution laps will not count, as they haven't throughout all of today's races, from the heats and from the LCQs as well. And it gives the drivers a bit of time for some rest, just to get the heart rates back down, because they've all been going side by side, 3 wide even throughout this race so far. They haven't got a break. Here's their chance to relax and figure out what they're going to do for this last third of the race.
Yeah, let's go ahead and quickly just take a look at the replay, and well, a little bit of what was going on. It was always going to end badly, but interestingly not inside of the top 10 where we saw most of the fighting. Just the fact that Seawright was spun around and stationary, not much that the automated system could do. Again, caution laps will not count, and so as the pace truck makes its appearance back out onto track, it is with hopefully drivers that are remembered, unlike in the heat races, Dane, to put enough fuel into the cars.
Yeah, with the caution laps not counting, it is a bit of a gamble, you know, that you take. You can fuel up the car quite a lot, just in the hope that the caution laps are going to come through, but if they don't, then you've got more fuel than everybody else, and that's going to cause you some problems in the race. If you don't put enough fuel in your car, then you've got even bigger problems, and you're not going to make it to the end if the caution laps keep coming out. So, yeah, some of the drivers, I'm sure, will be hoping that the caution flag doesn't come out any more than it has already.
Don't forget that we are nearing the 15th anniversary of the iRacing service going live. New memberships are 40% off. And for those returning members, there are incentives as well. Head on to iRacing.com to join us for the fun, where every day is race day. Of course, this coming Monday, iRacing World of Outlaws Buckyear Late Model Series will continue. We had a couple of the sprint car drivers entering our field. Sean English didn't have the best of his late model world championship campaigns, but now fights at the front and has the gap at the front brought back down. Green flag back in the air. Aiden Beerline up the inside of Tanner Miller. Tim Ryan has to watch it from behind, as potentially the field will challenge to run to the checkered flag.
I remember we saw how good English's start was earlier on, the restart, looking pretty tidy as well. Ryan has a bit of a gap out in front, but crucially, Beerline hasn't got past, and neither has Miller. Both of them looking very racy so far, and here comes Beerline to the inside.
Aggressive slide from the two, and it's going to see him pitch that momentum nice and tidily in towards second spot. Now with still plenty of gap to close down, how aggressive can Beerline be with how the track has moved around? Continuing to fight back in the pack, by the way, coming to 10 to go.
Of course, they are the pack, single file, very briefly, and straight back into the two-wide action that we've been seeing all race long. Hopefully, we get to the remaining 10 laps of this race completely green and no more drama, but they're making a brilliant show for us out there today.
Yeah, they're definitely not disappointing us. And up towards the front, just keep an eye on the fact that Aiden Beerline is making a challenge on Tim Ryan. Sly job, but the Australian back underneath as they rumble down the back straightaway.
Now, English has fallen back in that third position. They're going to swap positions once again, both on the circuit and on the timing tower. Beerline back up into the lead, and now Tim Ryan forced to follow up on that high line. Sean English watching along.
It's the first time today that we have a challenge for Tim Ryan, and it comes at a pivotal time with the laps ticking away, the time ticking down as well. Lap times under 17 seconds, let's not forget. We've got about 2 minutes of racing, 2 minutes for Tim Ryan to get back towards the front.
And the pressure is on as well. This is the first time that Tim Ryan hasn't been in the lead of any of the sessions so far we've had this evening. So Tim Ryan now in a bit of unfamiliar territory right now. And 7/10 is the gap. Aiden Berline looking very good.
They are fighting for now 4th position. Stables, Davies, Miller, Winter, Powell. Plenty of drivers that have shown speed, but none showing the late turn that we're seeing out of Berline up towards the front. Stables down low. Stables is in 4th.
And ripping it around the high line there was Miller, and trying to make that work. Didn't quite get there in time, but now up the inside of Davies, and these three swapping positions back and forth all over again.
Within 5 to go. A caution now would surely put the pressure back on to those at the front. Tim Ryan is slipping backwards into the clutches of Sean English. Davies up wide, just out of the catch fencing. This fight for 4th getting closer.
It is indeed, and Berline looking very good up at the front, assuming there is no more cautions to be had. Definitely up in front, 1.7 seconds, the gap flying out there in front. But this battle side to back still side by side, and looks like there's no stopping this train of fighting. They're going to be going to the end.
It realistically seems as though for Aiden Berline, it's only a caution that would deprive him of the victory here. It might be inside of the top 5 where that happens. Davies still up high, Stables down low, and with momentarily the position in his favor. We're coming towards the final lap of the race though, and the margin at the front, 2.5 full seconds.
Crosses the line, there's the white flag, which means no caution will stop him now. But now there's some lap traffic through the first couple corners he goes.
Sean English gets past Tim Ryan with a slide job through the opening corner, but 3 different winners in 3 different years. Aiden Berline comes out on top in the 2023 iRacing Knoxville Nationals. Tim Ryan able to hold off Sean English at the end. Clayton Davies comes across the line in 4th. The fireworks go off, and a firework of a night here at the Knoxville Raceway.
Absolutely brilliant stuff from all the drivers out there, all 60 of them from all the races that we have seen. And the feature race, absolutely no different. 3 wide, 4 wide, cars going everywhere, and it's brilliant to watch.
Going to be some donuts being done surely by our race winner. Aiden Berline brings so much World Championship top level experience to the field. The number 2 machine indicates the 2nd highest I rating as well, and did not disappoint, did not under-deliver on the promise here today. A look at the results. Aiden Berline, the first driver to challenge Tim Ryan tonight, and he did so at the very end when there was little time for Ryan to respond. The margin grew to 3.2. Fantastic drive in those closing stages. Sean English will grab the final spot on the podium, while Clayton Davies, Ethan Winter, Matthew Stables, Tanner Miller, Blake Giglio, Bradley Cox and Kenny Hoffman make up the rest of the top 10. 11th for Chase Stewart, 12th for Matthew Powell, 13th for Connor Darnell, while Cody Hillman, Ross Kaiser, Byron Gay, Andrew Clark, Zach Cottle, Mike Snyder and James Seawright finish in the top 20. Not on the lead lap for Chad Bernier or for Isaac Wilson. Well, Dane, another iRacing Knoxville Nationals in the books, and this one maybe with less cautions than I think we both anticipated, but with no less drama than anyone could have hoped for.
Yeah, brilliant racing in the feature race, in all of our races. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. It was fantastic racing from everybody, all 60 drivers that made it into this super session. But I'm going to have to get myself into some more dirt oval racing. I haven't done as much of it as I would have liked, haven't watched as much as I would have liked, so definitely after this, they've convinced me. I need to get more into it. I
like the sound of that. Next time we go racing, though, in the iRacing special events, it's not dirt racing at all. It's back to the tarmac, but not to go endurance racing. Instead, we'll go to the Bristol 500 as part of the NASCAR iRacing series that follows the NASCAR Cup Series around the schedule. A week of action, a week of full-length racing, and you can watch it live on RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. That's still a long way away, but let's not forget that the special event calendar, Dane, still has so long left to go.
Yep, we've got Bristol, as you said, then the Bathurst 1000. That's one of my personal favourite events, taking the V8 supercars up and down the mountain. It is something that no other car and track combination can provide. Petit Le Mans rounding off the VCO Grand Slam events, 10 hours at Road Atlanta. And then we've got a lot of racing come October, November time at the end of the season as well.
There's still a long way to go, though, before we close things out. Let's not forget so much more action here live on the iRacing Esports Network. For now, though, it is time to bid you farewell. For everyone behind the scenes at RaceBot TV, Dane Barrett alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you so much for joining us here at the sprint car capital of the world. 3 different years, 3 different winners, but it's Aidan Burline that walks away the 2023 iRacing Knoxville Nationals champions. We'll see you next time here for the iRacing special events, but until then, so long and goodbye.